Snoop?
Snoop.
How did that come about?
Well, he was on my show a few times, and he made good brownies, and he
Wait a minute.
introduced me
You
to.
made brownies with Snoop?
Oh, I did. Yeah, green ones. But so he was very pleasant and an intelligent man. I thought I had no idea how old Snoop was until I started the show with him. Somebody's brilliant idea in Hollywood that Snoop and Martha would get, an interesting audience on VH1, which we have. We've just been renewed, I think, for our third season. But he was like 45 years old when I started the show with him. I thought he was like 60 because he's like an old soul, very. And he's very funny, and he traveled.
Did you hit it off from the first time?
Oh
you
yeah,
met him?
we always. I hit it off with all the rappers. I like rap, and I also like to know about a lot of things. I'm a curious person, so I have learned a tremendous amount about Compton, growing up out there, and we've driven through Compton. I made him take me to where he was born, and you get to learn a lot. It's a culture merge, really, the whole show.
I feel like that's what you are about, though. You're very curious, and I feel like whether you're cooking, gardening, whatever.
Yeah, you're very curious. I want to know a lot, and I never stop reading. I never stop investigating. I never stop asking questions, and trying new things. And this is a new thing.
Here's a pretty impressive number. Your brand reaches about 100 million consumers across all media and merchandising platforms each month. More than 4 million Twitter followers, 1.7 million on Instagram. There's the Martha blog. There's so much out there. When you started out, go back to the 1970s in Westport, and your catering company.
Oh, yeah.
Did you have any idea that you wanted to build a brand?
No, I think every entrepreneur in the room would know that you don't know what it's really going to turn out to be when you start it, unless it's a family-owned business that's already has a momentum.
Right.
So you don't know when you start what it's going to actually be. And I had no idea that Martha would become this synonymous with a brand, and living a brand is my brand is me and I'm the brand. So it's kind of a it's just now it's a simple thing. I just assume that everybody knows me by name, and it's true. I walk down the street from the back, and the back of my head doesn't matter. Hey, Martha, and driving through any neighborhood, I will be recognized. And it's odd.
And what's wild, too, is I feel like you transcend ages. Do you think about that when you're making decisions about partnerships?
No, I don't. I really think that we do, and our fastest growing audience right now is men, which is very good.
Any men any men in this room? Martha Books?
You know who I am, right?
Come on. They just won't admit it.
No, but really because of two men households, they need to know how to cook. They need to know how to housekeep. So a lot of our information that I've written 90 books on the subject of lifestyle and living.
This is your 90th, right?
Yeah,
a book on flowers.
The new one. Yeah.
So
it's what we really concentrate on is lifestyle and everything involved in lifestyle. And we always say that media leads, and we started off, of course, writing books first, then the magazine, then television and radio, then product. So media leads and merchandising follows.
That's interesting.
You build up an interest, you build up a curiosity in your readership, and a desire for things. And then the merchandising follows.
You thought about that as you developed your brand?
I did, yes.
Was there a turning point where all of a sudden you realized, okay, or a tipping point?
I think that was the first really lucrative contract that I signed, which was with Kmart Corporation. When Kmart was, if you don't remember this, it's such an interesting fact. When I first signed with Kmart was the largest retailer in the United States.
Right.
It was about 3 times the size of Walmart and 10 times the size of Target. Target was a tiny little blip.
Amazing, right?
And then look what happened. This is America. This is business. Keep up with change, keep up with inventory controls, keep up with computerization of business, and don't look what happens.
How do you do that? Because I think in preparing for the summit this year, I talked to some of the CEOs on the advisory board, and they said, how do you pick through the information, there's so much overload. How do you pick through and say, okay, this is important for what I'm doing, I got to ignore this other stuff?
Well, we were the first magazine. When I started the magazine, I started writing books in 1982, and then in 1990 published the first issue of Martha Stewart Living. In a time when magazines were struggling. Actually, it was not the best year for magazines, but Time Inc. took a chance on Martha Stewart Living. There was no magazine like it, a lifestyle magazine attached to a person, and I thought, well, this was a very good way to start to synergize. Maybe you could do TV at the same time that you could do magazine. Synergy at that time, synergization was a dirty word. They didn't like that idea because Time wanted to keep everything segmented at the time. Then they bought AOL, and then things changed at the company. By that time, I had already bought my magazine back and was out of there. And now, guess what? Now I'm back with Time again because I've licensed my magazine to Meredith, and Meredith just bought Time, and there is no Time anymore. So it's a crazy world.
Lesson: be nice to everybody because you never know.
You never know. Keep your friends.
Talk to me about when you went public in 1999. What was that like? I was looking at some video of when you did it. You're on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. You're serving, I think, muffins and cupcakes and all this great stuff.
The all the floor traders loved that. They loved getting their muffins that day. It was a very exciting day because I wish I had been a little bit more prepared. I did not go to Harvard Business School. I knew a lot about business. I had really...
You'd worked on Wall Street.
I had worked on Wall Street.
Yeah.
I knew a lot about starting businesses and being entrepreneurial. But I really didn't, I didn't pay as much attention as I probably should have. I was talked out of taking, or being able to divest myself of a lot of money at that time. The first day of trading, our company was valued at over $2 billion, and I was worth way over $1 billion that first day. That was a very euphoric feeling.
I bet.
And it was fun. I remember driving up Madison Avenue. This is a story. This is a true story. Driving up Madison Avenue, saying to my driver, "Oh gosh, I could actually stop and buy anything." And I didn't. I should have. Shoulda, woulda, coulda. One of those stories.
Well, shoulda, woulda, coulda. Looking back, would you have gone public again? Was it that?
Yes, I would have, because we ran a very, very excellent company. We had no debt. We had very good growth. But we were in a time. It was just that time when retail had not yet entered its big struggles. Yeah. I knew Jeff Bezos the day he started Amazon. And one of my investors was Kleiner Perkins, and so I got to know Jeff, and I got to know the Google boys, and I got to know I was investing with Kleiner and doing all that stuff. Really meeting Bill Gates, visiting with all those interesting young men who were just about to change the world, and they did it. They did it, and it was an amazing thing. But so I would have absolutely done it again.
Right.
I was a little early in certain things. I was too early with my beautiful online catalog, Martha by Mail. And it was both online and physical postage catalog. And I could have, but we were just a little too early and didn't have the resources that an Amazon had to keep going and going and going. Amazon didn't make any money until 2 or 3 years ago at the most, at the earliest. And that,
they still don't make a ton. They spend a lot.
Well, they have.
They make a lot of revenues.
They do.
Yeah.
They're doing just fine. And dear Jeff is doing just beautifully. It's a funny picture on Bill. I just looked. I just got a little bleep on my Instagram. Bill Gates and Warren Buffett sitting together drinking cherry Cokes. And I guess they're just contemplating that they're no longer the richest men in the world. that little upstart, Jeff. Anyway, it's kind of fun, and I got to know all those guys, and I also dated a software engineer for 15 years. I learned a lot about software and about technology, and he had a
Is
boat.
software code for something?
No, software.
Oh, okay. I'm just playing with you. I'm only having fun.
Real software. And I always prided myself in finding all the glitches in the software programs, and
Right.
Word and Excel. Those were his programs, and he hated me for that. He hated that I found mistakes, but it was kind of a game to learn all the new technology. When Pinterest came, I was just so excited with Pinterest.
Right.
And then when Instagram came, that's the most profitable part probably of Facebook's business now is Instagram. They love that. They love
Right.
Instagram, and it's so it's kind of interesting what goes on. But I make a point of learning about it. I fly my own drones, and I take my own pictures, and I do all kinds of stuff that I don't really have time to do everything that I'd like to do, but I try to learn. I don't like Snapchat. I don't want to look like a silly little rabbit with a pink nose, and I don't have to dress myself up.
I'm thinking about the CEOs in this room. Many of them want to be where you are, in terms of a very established...
No, you don't. I promise you, you do not.
Well, why do you say that?
No, I'm just kidding.
Okay.
But it's...
No.
I'm just kidding. I just think, I think that anybody with an entrepreneurial bent has a real fine and exciting chance to do something new and different. And it takes a tremendous amount of hard work. It takes a tremendous amount of perseverance to take your idea to the first level, the next level, the final level, if there ever is one. You don't ever want to meet the final level. You want to keep going because it's an exciting process.
Right.
And I'm trying all new things. Even now, I'm still trying to make sense of retail because we have a lot of product lines and a lot of interesting products to sell. And recently I joined the team down in part-time, of course, at QVC. And John Malone just bought QVC and put it together with HSN in an important way. And they're trying to figure out and I know if I'm working with that little group, and they're trying to figure out how to make it really a powerhouse way of selling, it might be interesting to know how. So I'm working on that right now and doing product lines that I hadn't done before. Fashion up this little top I made. You can buy this for like $30, and it's so great. It's really nice. You can wash it.
You said to me walking out.
It doesn't fall apart.
And what's the price?
Like about $30. Isn't that great?
But when we were talking about, you said when you think about retail, you do have to think about QVC, Amazon, and
you think about television selling. That is basically QVC HSN now, and that's worldwide, and they're reaching a huge audience of about over 200 million shoppers on that network. That is an amazing thing. And then there's of course Amazon, which is universally a fantastic way to sell and also buy things. And then there is, of course, the Chinese version, the Alibabas, and a couple other big companies. Google just bought JD and .com, and they're trying to also get into that market. And then there is the bricks and mortar retail. So and each one has its struggles and its challenges, and it's just incredible working with them. I'm working closely with people there.
So I want to go back though to, I do think there are CEOs in this room who want to be where you are. Don't make the joke. But I mean, how do you get there? Is it just staying focused? Like what is the thing that you would say to these individuals,
focus
these
is
breakaway
extremely
members?
important. And when I was unfocused that's when you start to veer in the wrong direction. A little bit of,
What was the wrong direction for
No,
you?
it wasn't exactly wrong because it helped the brand. That was building a daily television show. I did many thousands of hours of daily television on CBS, on NBC, and on the Hallmark Channel, many thousands of hours of television. That took me away from the day in and day out of the company. Not completely, and I try to know what's going on in every aspect. But it took away the laser focus that I had before that. a television show like that takes a lot of time.
It does.
So now I do two shows weekly on public television, Martha Bakes and Martha's Cooking School, both going into their 10th and 11th seasons.
Because you still do it because
Yeah,
it's important to the brand.
Very important, yes,
Right.
and it gives you a credibility. And we're doing things in like the Middle East. I just did a program on the foods of the Arabian Gulf. At the behest of Dubai, and it is very popular in the Middle East. And they've already asked me to do Saudi Arabian and desert food now.
Right.
That's interesting because I learned something new, and the audience gets a very good value for a small program like ours.
And from a business perspective, it's another market.
Yes, a big market.
You've had so many partnerships, like I actually stopped listing them all, but you mentioned Kmart, Macy's, Lowe's, Sherwin-Williams, Costco, Gallo Winery. You're selling on QVC, Martha Stewart Pets.
Home Depot.
Home Depot,
Yeah.
Martha Stewart Cafe, your PBS cooking show. You're on Chopped. How do you pick and choose?
I do pick and choose, but someone like a Home Depot, I had a problem in 2001 with someone called Comey. Do you know James Comey? I had a little problem with him, and that.
I said we weren't going to get political.
No, it's not political. It's just a problem, and it was, and that created a problem with Kmart. Eddie Lampert, while I was visiting West Virginia, Eddie Lampert took over Kmart. I was so thrilled that Eddie Lampert, he was being extolled at the time as I hope he's not in the room, extolled as the next Warren Buffett. You remember the headlines?
I do.
The next Warren Buffett. Well, Eddie didn't like that I was not, I wasn't present. But when he came to see me and we talked about Kmart, he didn't understand the value of my brand at that fantastic store. I loved Kmart because the product I made there, designed for them and they created for me, was some of the best product I've ever made because it was so beautifully done and
Right.
and such value. I still have all the sheets and comforters on my beds in my big mansion up in Maine at Edsel Ford's house.
Still from Kmart.
It's still from Kmart. And all the towels, they were so fabulous that they're still fabulous. So, and the garden tools, everything was so good, but he didn't get it. He didn't get that. He didn't get about merchandising. And I'm a good merchant. So, then Home Depot was, I remember joining Home Depot, signing a big contract with them, and the stock at Home Depot was like $33 at the time.
Right.
It's now went over 200 today. It's I think my brand has helped these retailers. It certainly helped Kmart for a time, and Home Depot. It's sort of like icing on the cake.
But then how do you pick and choose? How do you say, well, wait a minute,
you don't just pick and choose. You have to. It's a huge negotiation with all these people. Macy's was another interesting thing. They really needed a home brand,
Right.
And we became their largest home brand in the store, and we still are there. Even after we had a problem with them with JCPenney. I mean, it's a complicated world. And an interesting world, the world of retail.
I think what's remarkable too about you is your longevity. And
Do we have to mention that?
Well, no, I don't mean, but I mean, you.
I'm old, but she meant I'm old.
She looks amazing.
But I'm very healthy.
But you know what?
I'm very active. I go to work every single day, including Saturdays and Sundays, and I enjoy what I do. And I think that's really what it is. I love what I do.
And you can tell.
Yes.
I mean, the 90s, I feel like everything you touched turned to gold. Going public in 1999, the new millennium started. I need to ask you a little bit. Started off okay, and then the early 2000s, not so great.
Well, it didn't hurt my business. That was the good thing. And I remember.
Were you worried that it would?
No, because I knew me, and I knew what had happened, and I knew that it couldn't really hurt the business. What it did hurt were some of the relationships, like my president. I had a fantastic president working in the company, and she listened to the wrong people.
Right.
the wrong lawyers, and she tried to take over the company. And I was still the brand, the face of the brand, and that was a sad moment for me because it didn't work.
Right.
It did not work for her to do that, and she had to leave. So it was that, and I think she was the best business partner I've had. And choosing your business partners is one aspect, I think, of being an entrepreneur. The best thing you can do is choose the best people, the people that you can stay with a long time.
Right.
And encourage them to be part of the company. I often advise young entrepreneurs to do that. My publicist had a sister in her business. And she wanted to be the CEO and the president. She wanted to do the whole thing herself. And I said, but you have this sister who's really smart, and she's really good, and she speaks French, and you don't. And you can do all the wine in the world if you just let her be and make her an officer. She did it, and now the company is 3 times as big as it was. So it makes a big difference if you find somebody that's like that in your company to expand your leadership.
I don't want to dwell on it, but I know you and I talked a few years ago, and we did go there, because I do think people think about, in this world, crises happen, and maybe these CEOs have already dealt with it, or they will deal with it, where they have a crisis at their company, which is what you went through.
Yes.
And you were removed from running your company. I can't even imagine how that was, and considering the financial crisis since, and all those things that happened, and many people who did not go to jail, that in perspective, it's mind-blowing.
It was a terrible time. But as I said, the brand did not suffer. The magazines.
Were you surprised that it didn't?
No, because
were people telling you, forget it, Martha?
Oh
this
no,
is it.
no. Some lawyers did. The ones who were taking all the millions of dollars in fees, but prolonging the agony. But even Mr. Greenberg from AIG asked me about the lawyer.
Yeah.
Because he was having his problems. And he's been exonerated from all of that stuff, but he doesn't get his money back, and he doesn't get the powerful AIG back.
You do lose momentum.
Well, you can lose momentum. We didn't. When I came back to the company, the stock was at a new high, and it was doing extremely well. And we had a new chairman, and I couldn't sit on my own board for
Was that hard?
I can't remember how long, 5 years I think.
Was that hard?
Yeah, no, it wasn't hard. It was stupid. That's what it was. It was totally stupid. So let's move on.
Okay, let's move on.
I'm writing about it. It's one thing you can do after you build your fantastic companies. Write about it.
Are you writing about it?
Oh yes, and I can't wait to get it all down on paper because it's interesting to others. It is interesting. The experiences are very valuable.
Well, don't you feel like when you've gone through something difficult, I certainly feel like from things I've gone through, I'm more sympathetic, I understand. Don't you feel like there's some insight, knowledge?
Well, sure, you have insight, but and knowledge, but it's not. I just think it's really interesting, and I like reading about things like that. Makes good movies.
Will there be a made for?
I don't know.
What's been a favorite part of your building your brand? Favorite time?
Well, I think working on the designs. I love writing books, and as I said, this is the 90th book, and we have a very, very loyal book readership. People have them, they come to us for recipes, they come to us for advice, they come to us for the information that we are so expert in. And I like writing. I write early in the morning. I write kind of final copy because I've been thinking about it before I sit down. I'm now writing on my iPad. I don't even use my desktop anymore, but it's kind of fun. And a lot of research goes into what we do. This book took at least 15 years to write. And because I've been writing it over a period of time.
And that's what you're doing. You're working.
Yes, on
things.
many projects at the same time.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's a least favorite time for you?
My least
in
favorite
building your
time,
brand.
Dealing with difficult people. And there are a lot of difficult people out there. Lots.
What's your advice? dealing with them? Because sometimes you have to, right?
Oh, you have to. You invite. I mean, I remember having one partner. They came to my home for a big breakfast. The whole team came in from the West, and it seemed very cordial, and everybody was all excited. And then when they left, you just realized this is not going to work. This is not the right company to be with. This is not the right company to work so hard on. They just don't have the imagination, or they don't have the wherewithal, or they don't have the.
You knew it.
You just know. That I think that is, and that to me, spending a tremendous amount of time developing something and then having it not work out is a big disappointment. But that happens.
What do you read? How do you keep up to date on things?
Well, I don't read novels very much because life is much better than any novel. I read the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, every single day, a little bit of the Post. But I watch early morning TV on my treadmill and with my trainer. And it's business, it's MSNBC or CNBC, those two.
And Bloomberg?
Yeah, of course, Bloomberg's in the radio. No, that's the radio. That's on the drive-in. And that's on the radio. And then that's where I get a lot of information. And I try to stay very current. Although I don't know who won the soccer today, and I'm a little bit upset about that.
Who?
Spain. Okay, that's good. And Uruguay? Somebody said Uruguay? Anyway.
So leadership I want to talk to you, because the focus of Breakaway is kind of this paradox of leadership, that you don't have to make choices. You can, be global, be local, be high tech, be
We have a president like that, don't we? You don't have to make choices. That's my only joke about the
Did you like working with him?
With Trump? On The Apprentice? Oh, I did The Apprentice. Well, he denies this, but it was absolutely true.
He denies
when I came to work on The Apprentice, it was to replace the Donald, and because they thought he was getting tired or whatever, and they let me do a whole season. This is Mark Burnett, and he said, Martha, at the end, you're going to fire Trump. You're going to say you're fired. And I was so excited. It was going to be so much fun. And then he decided he wanted to continue. And he was more powerful than I was with Mark Burnett and the NBC. So I didn't get to do that. I was so sorry.
Me too.
Do you keep in touch?
Through the newspapers, I guess. I have not seen him since he became president.
Do you think at all about, I know he's floated out there the idea of a pardon?
Oh, we don't talk about that.
Okay, deal. So leadership, what do you think is the right leader to be in this world today?
I think sort of apolitical. I think you have to be. It's very hard to take sides openly, especially in a media business.
Yeah.
I can't do anything very overt, and I feel bad about that, because I get requests every single day to be overt in my feelings, and you can't, because 50% of your readership is on this side, and 50% of your readership is on this side. So, and I have a magazine and an obligation to my employees to pay attention. So it's very hard to be political. A lot of our entrepreneurial leaders, like the Elon Musks, and they take sides and they get into trouble.
Right.
And you just can't. If you're running a big corporation, it's better to run your corporation, pay attention to the everyday workings of your company, of your employees, and focus on that.
Do you ever get pressure though from employees? Because it's interesting,
oftentimes.
Yeah.
Oftentimes.
But you say no.
No, they know how I feel, but they don't. But I can't tell other people really how I feel personally, and again, that's why you write a book. Later on.
So what advice would Martha Stewart today give the Martha Stewart of when you were starting out?
Oh, what advice would I give?
Yeah.
There's so many pieces of advice. I think,
One or two.
I think choose your employees wisely. Get the very best like-minded people you can, and some that are even smarter than you are.
Don't be afraid of that.
No, don't ever be afraid of that. I think having smart people around you, in my business, has to be both smart and creative, and that those are the people that you will really, really want to have around you as you grow, as you thrive, and it's very important. And do lots of you have to do a lot of research into people's backgrounds too. Know what if there's somebody who comes in that's a little bit older, know what they really did and can do. So it's hard. That for me is the hardest part, is choosing wisely enough who's working with me.
One last question. Do you wish you were starting over again?
Do I wish? Well, in a way, yes, of course.
Why?
Because then I would be, 40 years old, and I would be just on my way again, and it would be fun. Absolutely.
Is there anybody else other than Snoop, interesting person that you'd like to work with still?
I have lots of people I want to work with.
I lied. It was almost my last question. Really?
Yeah.
Still lots?
Oh, there's lots and lots of people I would like to work with.
Well, we love working with you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.